a little lad with nothing to lose right now and just everything to gain. It's going to get scary. Spawning over in the bottom right-hand side as our blue Protoss on Golden Aura, it is Goblin.
In the top left, our red Protoss player is going to be ShoWTimE.
And we already did get to see that marathon PvP between ShoWTimE and MaxPax, where it was nothing short of Phoenix, Carrier, and all that jazz, and just be an absolute mess in every way, shape, and form. Like, it was awesome. Goblin is a guy that is not a stranger to Phoenix shenanigans, but like this, depending on what they want to do, especially given that it doesn't have that, you know, ramp at the natural. Maybe we won't see that. I mean, there is a lot more potential for the one-gate cyber expand here. Looks like that's what ShoWTimE will be, I was going to say is leaning towards, but just take the second gas nice and early here.
Yeah, it gets that down. We lined up for the second gateway, so there's going to be 2 gateways each. I wonder if one gating is still a little bit risky against someone like Goblin, who was one of the players to start, to at some point start to find an answer to MaxPax, as he went for like the double like proxy gate, which led to kind of like, so he built 2 gates, then he proxied 2 gateways to get to 4 gates and just all in, and that was one of the things that MaxPax struggled with for a little while. Goblin really enjoyed doing that, so he's got that tendency, he's got that history, so maybe you've got that caution in your mind at ShoWTimE. We'll see what we do over the course of the series, of course. Plenty of time to mix it up across the course of a best of 5.
Yeah, pretty much the only difference here between them is the fact that ShoWTimE went for a far earlier scout, just to make sure there's no cheeky shenanigans going on, and Goblin was a tad more greedy on getting his probe out a little bit later, but he's not going to suffer for it, as ShoWTimE is up to the exact same thing. But this is where we see a little bit of deviation between the two. 2 adepts to start off for ShoWTimE, and it's a Stalker Sentry for Goblin. This is kind of the opposite way that I thought this would pan out between them two, honestly.
Yeah, ShoWTimE going to be more the aggressive, while Goblin sets up to potentially be the expander. You're right, if we blindfolded the names, or sensed them out or whatever, I would have guessed ShoWTimE versus Goblin the other way around, if I knew it was the 2 of them, right? So it does mean ShoWTimE can get the Stargate up, though, and that's a fairly controlling unit or structure as well, so we'll have Adept and Oracle control on the map. Goblin will just double down, more Stalker Sentry for him as he sets up through these early couple minutes.
Yeah, this will allow ShoWTimE quite a bit of control and scouting of the map. He's also getting out number 3 and 4 for his Adept, so not slowing down on the aggression. Goblin will set up his Nexus a tiny bit earlier here, but hasn't really showcased what tech he's going for, but he's going to have a good amount of sentries and will be able to get a spot on what's actually happening on the other side of things.
Adepts do not commit up the ramp, but of course ShoWTimE gets to see the sentry and stuff that was there, so he's already picking up on a little bit of information. And we'll have 2 more adepts coming over. The hallucination seeing all of this, including the expansion. And Goblin will go into the robo facility as his next step as well. So get that up, and very safe, but also timing potential, because there's definitely some immortal timings lately that can pack a punch. So maybe that is on the agenda for Goblin. He could still turn this somewhat macro setup into some timing focused on 2 bases.
Yeah, he can. He's also going for the Twilight Council very quickly behind this as well, and so far not really making a wrong move when it comes to stopping these Adepts from getting into his base, which is a nice move by him. Get some Stalkers out for his troubles, and Goblin knows all about those Adept or the Oracles and where they are. ShoWTimE is going into his own Twilight Council, not making any more units out the gateways thus far, but we've just got a nice honest PvP on our hands.
Twilight Council's halfway done. Hallucination's going to tank the Oracles a little bit. Nexus is about to be done. The Observer coming out from Goblin as well, so we get that Obs reducing through. Stalker on the way. And we have a couple Stalkers still there as well, just chasing the Oracles back for the moment. And these Oracles not finding a way in as long as Goblin keeps his defense up. This feels pretty good for ShoWTimE. Now the Adepts, are they going to commit? They are. 2 different groups, and they're going to target down different probes. Maximizing damage here for 5 kills. Can we get away with any of these? Probably not, because force fields will go down, but if we shade away and then run the other way around, that works. So 5 probes for 2 Adepts, great trade.
Yeah, you get some Protosses that, you know, they struggle with target firing 1 group of Adepts, yeah. But ShoWTimE just does it with 2 quite flawlessly as well. Could have even maybe got 1 on the exit there as well, but does get super confirmation here with these oracles of what he's exactly up against. And okay, a few... I was just looking there. What else just died? I saw 2 more probes. Okay, so it's 8 probes killed for ShoWTimE, and he did go for the far more aggressive opening, right? And he's faster into blink and whatnot. Will probably be faster into his third base as well as a result. And those oracles, they're still pretty damn healthy. This is definitely a nice start for him.
Yes, just having those oracles up gives you a lot of control still, and we're going to start setting up stasis wards, so you're very safe. With blink on the map, it's another way. I mean, I feel like everything that ShoWTimE has done is being very map controlling, right? From adepts to stalk to the oracles, and now the stalkers with blink as the priority. Like, it's all about being able to be out and about on the map and being active. So it really seems like there's a trend as to what ShoWTimE wants to be doing across the course of this first game. Meanwhile, Goblin has extra gates coming up, another immortal coming through. Gates up a Goblin on. It's going to bring him up to 4, so nothing too aggressive. It is that point now where he decides, does he throw down a third base, or is he going to send some sort of an attack across the map and try and deny his opponent's third and take an advantage from there?
I've got a feeling he's just waiting with that War Prism for the 2 immortals, then to try and get something done. Don't know exactly what at this point, and, you know, ShoWTimE's been very good about just being in his face continuously, although this is the moment for both of them to breathe a little bit. It's just ShoWTimE setup here, getting this third base this much faster. Like, Goblin is trailing a little bit, but his army is a scary one, it does have to be said.
It is. No, I mean, those immortals are very powerful, 2 of them available right now, and he's got a lot of sentries, so he can really catch units in a big way, should blink be on cooldown, for example. As we have the Forge is about to finish, the Nexus drops down on the third base from Goblin. But man, he is really late on that Nexus, so that's the thing for ShoWTimE. He's not the one that needs to do anything across the map, and he has got an absolute maze of stasis wards set up currently that Goblin is going to have to work his way through. If he does want to commit to some aggression, he's going to work from the right-hand side, already losing a few Stalkers here to a stasis ward, a few probes dead back at home. Stalkers blink for the Prism, he's going to go for the Immortals immediately because too many units are caught in the stasis, so ShoWTimE has no respect for this army any longer. And ShoWTimE loses a chunk of army supply, but he takes all of the threat away from a continued push.
He really does, and that third Nexus of Goblin, it's almost too late to matter at this point. He's down to 40 workers. Oh, he blinks into another one. That is an absolute disaster for him. Now, the rest of his army, there is a juicy Immortal in the mix as well, and ShoWTimE has got a massive target on it, and the German does take it out pretty swiftly, and this push is shut down. I mean, ShoWTimE definitely going to be very happy about how those stasises worked out. Still has to respect these Stalkers on this side of things.
Yeah, they need to be careful. They need to be careful where they blink because there's more stasis wards they can get caught in. No! Oh my god.
You can't get out. You can't run. And guess what? Their blink cooldown just got used into that stasis as well. Like, ShoWTimE is just going to surround them.
Guaranteed kills.
Yeah, easy pickings for him. Easy pickings. This is such a bad start.
Gets the Observer as well. Oh my goodness. Everything went wrong in this set of attacks with Goblin. He's going to try and save these Stalkers by bringing the other units across. And to be fair, he saves, what, like 2 of them? Which, honestly, is better than expected. So, some benefit there. But honestly, now ShoWTimE can actually fight the rest of these Stalkers as he moves down this ramp. And he will have Blink to chase. So, he will get a couple more kills as well. And ShoWTimE just continues to look great right now in this opening game of the series. You know, Goblin put on a decent showing. It just got to this point where suddenly Goblin's like, okay, now's my time to make a move. But ShoWTimE was so prepped for that.
He was, and I'm really admiring the little moves out of ShoWTimE as well. Like, he's blinking forward his big blob, but then separates like 3 Stalkers just to kill a low wounded Stalker, so not utilizing every unit there to overkill. Just really good play out of ShoWTimE. The resources lost tab, it's great for ShoWTimE. Its economy's been a lot better. These Oracles as well, still alive right now, and again, just so much damage done. Goblin's just suffering on every front.
Well, now ShoWTimE can sit in the front and try and just pick away at a couple of units. He's already on his way to +2, so he maintains an upgrade lead at some point in this game. He will get that +2 to +1 advantage. And yeah, again, we're kind of waiting for Goblin to show us a way back in. The problem is he lost a Prism, right? So he doesn't really have a way to kind of be aggressive across the map with harassment without rebuilding that Prism. And of course, that is expensive and it takes away from Immortal build time, which he needs to build because he lost all of his Immortals. ShoWTimE is going to keep the pressure up now that he's got map control of these Stalkers. He will intend to keep it, although this is going to be a successful hold on the high ground from Goblin, and Goblin's 4th will get to build. It is just that much further behind ShoWTimE's, though.
It is. He's got 3 Immortals in the mix, which definitely bolster this army pretty significantly, but ShoWTimE's got the mobility here. He's also posturing and gets to shut this down. Now he can go home, doesn't have to worry too much, and just keep on leaning on Goblin.
Keep on leaning. Stalkers and the Zealots go moving about. +2 attack and the armor upgrade coming in as well. Dark Shrine is building, a few extra Stalkers all coming in. I mean, I like the Dark Shrine. It's some way for Goblin to maybe actually bring himself back in this game. It gives him options again, instead of just kind of waiting for ShoWTimE to keep finding openings and kill him. It could maybe give him a way to be back on the map and getting something done. So I do like that. I think that's a big deal. We got our Prism about to finish. +2 attack is going to be done soon. Our Stalkers knocked down a Pylon. We knocked down a Probe as well. And we blink back across the right side to go grab a Nexus.
Yeah, this is really suffocating. No cancel there either, so a big ol' kill. And that resources lost tab. I think over the last minute, ShoWTimE hasn't lost a unit, because I swear his number of resources lost has been the same. And right now, Goblin, where does he take a 4th? I don't think he can. Like, ShoWTimE's army on both sides is pretty massive. And this little hit squad over here, that's just a good amount to start picking at this, while just navigating over to the 4th, and oh, ShoWTimE's looking big.
Yeah, he is just playing 2 armies. Again, his control is impeccable. He's up an upgrade. Oh, it's +2 attack versus 1-1. I generally would prefer +2 attack over the 1 armor, so ShoWTimE just to head in kind of every way. And again, just kind of picking a fight over here. He jumps on the Immortal, gets rid of it, man. He just knows what fights he can take, doesn't he? He's going to get rid of this Immortal too, so he's just winning out on that right-hand side, getting rid of some of the defensive units that are meant to be very useful, and just chipping away, because he's also up 20 workers, so if you're up 20 workers, you can afford to take slightly inefficient trades as well.
And throughout all this, ShoWTimE's moving up to 12 gateways. Goblin's still just rocking 4. Like, obviously, there's a big investment on those DTs, but, I mean, numbers do not lie, and ShoWTimE's going to get his own Dark Shrine on the go as well, realizing that the map is his playground at this point. And, yeah, the army on the right side is just getting bigger. Goblin just hunkering on down on 3 bases, trying to get that 4th up, getting more gateways as well, but I feel at some point ShoWTimE's going to realize that he can just absolutely have his wicked way with him.
Yeah, I don't think we're too far away from this. As again, at this point, you're just trading, rebuilding, trading again. Every time an Immortal's here, we just knock it down without issue. And with Zealots coming in as well, just going to be able to have a little bit more kind of in the front tank. And we're going to target fire the Nexus down, just get rid of the 4th. Now Goblin has even more economic issues. If, being behind 20 probes was not enough, he's now behind 20 probes and a whole entire 3 bases. I mean, he's just dead in the water. It really is. This game is pretty much done and dusted. As ShoWTimE is just looking for the final fight at this stage.
It really is. And, Goblin did a good job of fighting with far less, but he knows it. ShoWTimE looked very fierce in map number 1. He was even going up to a 6th base, taking the gold in the bottom left, just realizing how good a situation he was in. And, it's just map 1. Goblin still has a good few maps remaining, because he didn't play bad by any means. It's just, it started off rough with those stasis, and I mean, if those stasis didn't connect, and, we're just talking like 1 or 2 Stalkers instead of a big old block of 8 or so, maybe we could have been looking at a different victor there.
No, that is true. I mean, the stasis wards were really, I think, far and away the absolute guarantee reason why ShoWTimE was in such a good position. I mean, like, plain and simple, you just can't let stasis wards like that go off so repeatedly. And yes, okay, like, hitting 1 is maybe going to happen, but it was just non-stop. The stasis wards just kept on landing, connecting, and every single time Goblin loses some units or momentum from it. Like the first stasis ward, ShoWTimE immediately blinks on the Prism, gets rid of Immortals. The next stasis ward catches a group of Stalkers that ends up killing a bunch of them. That was the momentum switcher. This game was won by stasis wards.
No, it definitely is. Second map will be Oceanborn.
Yeah. I mean, pretty standard, right? I feel like
pretty damn standard.
Oceanborn has been favored by some races sometimes, where it's like, the layout is still kind of decent for like Terran and TVZ and stuff, but I think at the end of the day, it's still, as far as it goes, fairly standard, fairly normal. A couple of different expansion choices. Pretty regular size, obviously, as well, so Heading to Oceanborn for game number 2. We'll see if ShoWTimE can keep it running, or if Goblin can dodge the stasis wards and maybe get himself a map on the scoreboard here as we go into game 2 of the series. We'll be starting off in the bottom right-hand corner with the blue Protoss player from the Platinum Heroes. This is Goblin.
And in the top left, representing Berlin International Gaming, it is ShoWTimE. Yeah, and we did kind of talk a bit about the way that ShoWTimE opened and Goblin. Like, Goblin definitely took the defender's approach, and ShoWTimE was all about the aggression. And when I do think about ShoWTimE, obviously people know that he's got great defense and whatnot, but the aggression and stuff, it's something that he's not unfamiliar with either. And Goblin, when it comes to some of his other matchups, I know he likes to stick with certain builds, making him a tiny bit more predictable. I'm wondering if this game he's going to mix it up a little bit, given how it didn't go that well in game number 1.
Yeah. I mean, he kind of tried to match ShoWTimE. Not going to say step for step, but he kind of says, you know, I'll play something macro-focused as well. It could absolutely just open the door to Goblin saying, okay, nope. I mean, to be fair, you can also look at that game as Goblin and be like, well, you know what, the macro didn't go well, but did I lose the macro game or did I lose the stasis ward game? Because if he just dodged stasis wards, he hadn't really made a mistake up until that point. It was the stasis wards that kind of really swung everything, so you go into game 2, you fix that part of it. It's a fairly easy fix in the grand scheme of, like, playing a macro game. Like, a lot of the time you play the macro game, it's, like, very hard to pinpoint what it is that you need to change to have a chance next time around. But this time, you actually do just know.
Absolutely do. Absolutely do. Now, Goblin this game did go for a scout again, tiny bit later than what ShoWTimE went for. ShoWTimE feels very confident in his PvP openings in general, and again, exact same unit choices from both these guys early on. And I do wonder, because, you know, these players get to play each other a lot. If you're ever laddering in Europe, you run into the same names all the time. And that's because the player field, like the level that these guys are playing at, is just so damn high. Getting there is tough. And if I know... Oh, wait, Goblin has changed it up a little bit. So, in fact, is he going to just get a sentry on this second gateway again? Looks like it. Yeah. So, very much same old, whereas ShoWTimE, 2 adepts, but then 2 sentries afterwards. It is... Yeah. It's always one thing you have to keep in mind. Like, players have styles and strengths, builds, and things like that. But if you are a player that's willing to divvy it up a little bit, as opposed to a player that doesn't, it does automatically give you a way to tinker with it and hone in on the weaknesses of that kind of play.
That's very cool, right? Just the deeper you get into StarCraft, all the little things that can come around and be noted and everything, it's very cool. As you have a couple of adepts going to be moving up. Probe on that high ground, as the adepts will not be jumping into 2 stalkers and 2 sentries, but it is still from ShoWTimE, still just a check, right? Like, he's checking to see what's going on. He knows what his opponent's unit composition is early in the game, so he knows what possibilities are likely to lend themselves into play from there. And as once again Goblin just hits that robo, ShoWTimE is again just going to move into the Twilight Council. So, kind of similar to the last game in terms of the eventual text, just ShoWTimE not going to go via the Stargate here.
No, he isn't. It's going to be slightly faster expansion from him. He's been good about chrono boosting out his probes as well. He's been very spot on about that. And they're both scouting in different ways, aren't they? Like the hallucination versus, well, now the hallucination from ShoWTimE, but the adepts on the field again, just to be a nuisance. And I dare say ShoWTimE's going to take this position and just do a lemon, where he starts expanding like crazy behind it, takes an earlier third and all that. Because he can, and he knows it as well.
He knows it as a couple of adepts kind of started straight up there. There's a probe on the high ground. We got that blink coming up from ShoWTimE. The robo facility is about to be done. Get ourselves, again, the robo about to be done. Blink coming through. All of that establishing as the couple stalkers go chasing the adepts back to the middle.
That is a pretty damn early War Prism out of Goblin. All right, so yeah, Dark Shrine on the go. And ShoWTimE does have a Hallucinated Phoenix just a bit north. Hasn't yet. Oh, now it's literally... it got started 15 seconds ago and he goes and spots it. I mean, unfortunate for Goblin. Unfortunate. And it feels like ShoWTimE is just more than ready for this already. He's got his observers on the go, takes his third base, he's got Blink more than halfway done as well.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea from Goblin because he put the Robo down like last game, so it looks very similar in terms of units that start popping out, and then, you know, you pop the Dark Shrine down afterwards, and it's a bit of like a, hey, look at what I'm doing, something a bit different, but it gets figured out, and, well, at least you have DTs for throughout the game, but I'm not sure ShoWTimE's going to let up too many opportunities. ShoWTimE's going to have that faster third base as well. Again, just the fact he's on Blink already to me gives him so much opportunity. Blink is such the king of PvP in a lot of ways. I know it's not been as great lately in terms of just like it's not as dominant a choice, but to me it still really is just that freaking good. Now this is looking amazing for ShoWTimE already. I love where it's going to, and yeah, it just isn't quite what I wanted to see if I'm a Goblin fan right now.
No, definitely not. He's already situated on the back foot here, and whether he just expected a different opening out of ShoWTimE, like I've seen the double adept, maybe expecting it was going to be the 4 and the Oracle, and then it's like, I'm going DTs now, but yeah, it's a bit of a roughie. ShoWTimE continually scouting, as is Goblin, so they both know what's up, and he does get confirmation that he let the Dark Shrine finish. And if we look at the positioning of ShoWTimE, he does have a little red spot in the northeast side of his base. He's also got vision in the far left side of his base as well, with that assimilator over there just being a nice little spot. Charge starts up, +1 for both these guys as well. Even going to go and nibble a pylon in the north here just to get super confirmation if anything does fly on by. Or not. Just going to go for the 11.
Yeah, just going to get that drop down. Blink finishes up in a moment here from Goblin. Here, that's actually going to be a lead on +1 attack, so something that Goblin will have a slight advantage on. It was ShoWTimE to have the upgrade lead last time around, as ShoWTimE will have a faster charge, and he is continuing to build Immortals, which is also something ShoWTimE did not do last game, right? He was only on the Stalkers, he never built an Immortal, so a little bit of a different stance there. And the Temple Archives, also something we didn't see much of last time around.
No, definitely not. There are 2 DTs being warped in. Not sure where exactly, but definitely not with this Warp Prism, which has been spotted. Looks like they were defensive just for an Archon or so, and Goblin's feeling it's time to move out. And he does have 3 Immortals and Archon. Fairly similar numbers across the board for both of them. Like, if there was a time for him to make a move out, it is kind of now with that 4th base being on the go, but he's also committed to his own 4th base, so a little bit of a fakey-jakey over here, and won't really make too much of it. We've just got I mean, this is far less intense PvP.
Yeah, we're just both happy sitting back and playing into the longer stages. There is going to be a point where a switch is flicked and it's going to be like all-out aggression though, right? That's what PvP tends to do. If they decide to sit back and build up, once they're happy, the fights seemingly never stop because you're going to clash with the big armies, they're going to try and run by all the time. The action really should pick up because you also want to be action-packed enough that you don't give your opponent an opportunity to really kind of like get like, you know, a transition into disruptors, for example, right?
Yeah, and I mean, ShoWTimE's posturing aggressively, and he does have a little bit more supply. Got to remember the investment into the Dark Shrine, which, you know, didn't use DTs, but just going to morph them into Archons. There is a second Forge online as well for Goblin, which, not the craziest investment, but it does mean that ShoWTimE's army will be packing a little bit of extra muscle early on, a few extra units here. But again, numbers very, very close. It's just, it's a lot of Stalkers for Goblin, to be fair to him. But no charge loss at all.
Yeah, playing no charge is kind of scary. He does have the Archons to try and help knock down some of those charge lots, get that splash damage going. That would be kind of the hope here as ShoWTimE is up about 20 army supply looking for this fight. Question is, does he want to take this fight, kind of moving into his opponent's side of the map, into potential batteries? Upgrades are currently still even at +1 apiece. Guardian Shield pops, so I mean, if we're going to go soon. Extra Zealots warping in. That is ShoWTimE's choice, just to spam Zealots and to try and bring those in. Maybe send a few Zealots down to the 4th base as you've got the army kind of focusing on the 3rd. I do not mind that he stops to kill the rocks as well. What that enables him to do is to back away much more easily. He'll force field here to punish the Blink. He lost 1 Immortal, but he gets a lot of Stalkers out of it.
He certainly does. And Goblin, obviously it was quick to pounce. He did some nice micro with a single Stalker earlier. utilizing both his forges as his upgrades do finish, but ShoWTimE's maxed out. And this is a scary max out that he has as well. Like, Goblin's done a good job of just making sure that ShoWTimE can't get this wraparound with those Zealots, but that is such a huge amount of Protoss here. It really is, and goes that down, takes out that pylon there. But now, now Goblin has to be a little bit careful.
Yeah, he is going to back away just a little bit. I mean, ShoWTimE's army is almost maxed. ShoWTimE should be looking for a fight. He wants to trade out at the very least. He doesn't have an eco advantage or anything, though, so he has to make sure to not trade out too badly. It's not like he could, in the last game where he could like trade a little bit ineffectively, but that's okay because he was mining more, so he'll rebuild more. And it looks as though he's just going to let it use his range units to try and get a couple of picks. This is why I kind of expected a bit more aggression, because now Goblin is sat back, and ShoWTimE says, cool, well, if you're sitting back and not forcing anything, I'm free to build disruptors. And so now ShoWTimE's army just becomes that much better, and Goblin has not made that step in the game. So suddenly disruptors versus no disruptors, ShoWTimE's army is massively better just for the inclusion of those units.
Yeah, Goblin is going to work his way into charge. Granted, it is a bit of a late charge, but he survived. He survived a stage of the game that ShoWTimE was definitely looking for a fight. And ShoWTimE, he's not going to let him rest too long. Just take out a Warp Prism for his troubles there in the middle of the map. And he is a little bit faster to get that 5th base up, but this wasn't the greatest fight for ShoWTimE, and now disruptors are shown. But any kind of gateway losses for ShoWTimE at this point, not the worst, because then he can really rebolster on these big, heavy-hitting units. But Goblin just kind of marching through that high grass there and gets a few value units for his time.
Yep, I mean, actually nice to get rid of some of the tech units there, and that is going to be expensive losses. So, charge on's on the way up. That's about halfway done from Goblin, plus 3 attack is about to finish as well from him. He does have an armor and a shield advantage, by the way, so he's continuing to work on those upgrades, which ShoWTimE has only just now started out on, for example, an armor upgrade. The sad news is disruptors don't care about upgrades, so that's one way in which ShoWTimE will just discredit the investment that Goblin has made earlier in this game, as we do get Zealots on top of this 5th. But the DT is finally showing up as big disruptor shot. 2 sentries and an Immortal getting caught in that one. And yeah, nice little grab for ShoWTimE.
This is where ShoWTimE does have to be careful, though, because, I mean, Goblin has weathered the storm. Upgrade lead is very much getting in his favor as well. And, I mean, the DTs are doing a good job of negating this damage quite considerably. Goblin's still investing into those upgrades big time with the forges, but yeah, these disruptors, you always have to respect disruptors, because as you said, they don't care about your upgrades. So even if you've got them, but ShoWTimE's just absolutely slamming out Zealots on this side, but he needs some vision for those DTs. Oh, he does have it now with the Observer, and he's got Observer speed as well.
Yeah, has to be careful. His opponent's Observer is there. Goblin, is he paying attention? He was. He blinks back, but the disruptors do hit the Immortal, so they are low. And again, another good disruptor shot. A couple of Stalkers hitting the Immortal again, just picking its health apart, making it an easier snipe for Stalkers further down the line. And ShoWTimE still being the aggressor and the player to kind of initiate a lot of these battles at this stage.
Yeah, this is those disruptors of easy pickings there at the front line. So nice little hits there by Goblin. He's not making this easy. Like, he's not going down without a fight. Resources lost tab is actually very slightly in favor of Goblin here, and his army's quite a lot easier to maneuver than ShoWTimE's. But when it comes to a big old actual fight, I'm a bit worried for him.
Yep. The Disruptor squad is looking big, by the way. Like 6 of them in the back here. If they ever get in range of this army to actually start firing, it's going to be tough. And you got a couple of Immortals to help you kind of push through this. We're actually blinking forwards to chase with the Stalkers, and ShoWTimE may take a position kind of down the ramp on the left side, try and get on top of the 5th base. Zealots there. Fortunately for Goblin, only 1 force field available, as there could have been a lot of his Zealots just getting caught immediately. Now the Disruptors are going to force their way down this ramp, and they are starting to hit the Stalkers. And this is starting to be pretty deadly for Goblin, who needs to blink, but he cannot. And he loses a chunk of units, and ShoWTimE's supply is going to start overwhelming, as he is dealing with this attack on the right side as well. So he's dealing with that. And yeah, this army of Goblin is unfortunately just melting away. This is looking as though ShoWTimE is going to clean up game number 2.
Yeah, and he's even advancing in tech as well, getting the Stargate online, so looking for the next stage in this game if there was ever going to be one, but Goblin's stuck. He can't do anything from here. He's getting completely shut down, and ShoWTimE's taking a 6th base and killing the fifth base of Goblin. Goblin's going to try and take his other fifth base. And again, he's getting those upgrades, but similar story. This is ShoWTimE just microing in 2 spots very nicely, and his army's just better.
It really, really is, as we do drop in another disruptor shot or two. Zelda Stalkers will continue to charge by, and we are just going to go pushing into this base. I mean, we're only on Stalkers here as Goblin. This cannot sustain itself, and if disruptors just catch even 1 Stalk each and every time, the numbers just get whittled down. ShoWTimE will eventually take this as another disruptor shot, another couple units getting caught. Obviously, the base count is heavily in ShoWTimE's favor as well. Probe count is starting to slip in his favor. The Goblin, the only good thing I can say for him is he's getting a bunch of upgrades that are just never going to be impactful. Like, they would have been nice as we try and play the catch on these disruptors. The disruptors get a few Stalkers, though, post-blink.
Yeah, they really do, and that resource is lost out, Wardy. If we bring it up now, not in favor of Goblin at all anymore, and GG. ShoWTimE, just very solid, very competent PvP, and yeah, not much else to say. Like, he can make some of the absolute best players just look like they can't keep up, but it really feels like ShoWTimE is just hitting his stride, hitting his comfort zone, and we mentioned it a little bit earlier. The fact that Serral is not in the mix this season for this regionals, the players like ShoWTimE that, you know, he's going to run into those big dogs later on. Having 1 less big dog to worry about, this could actually be a season that ShoWTimE is absolutely vying for like a top 3 finish, and he's looking good. Yeah,
I think ShoWTimE's biggest hurdle is probably, honestly, Clem. I think against Reno, he's fairly comfortable, especially with Reno and Korea. Clem's the problem. I feel like every time ShoWTimE plays against Clem, it's definitely Clem favored. It's a matchup that he just can't seemingly get a good enough grasp on to kind of like completely swing his way, and he can beat Clem. It's just that would be, I would say, his kind of biggest challenge. Maybe MaxPax, but I feel like he's still very competent enough against MaxPax in the PvP. Those are obviously very weird games when they play with the mass air versus mass air that they typically end up on. So
yeah, I mean that's kind of like on any other day it's like 55-45, right, for either one of them, and like MaxPax got the edge last time they played, but the next day it's just like, you know,
here we go again.
Yeah, a different swing of affairs. Like, both very, very solid at that matchup. But right now, yeah, ShoWTimE's just, he's a beast, man. I also want to see who he played in the group stage, because we talked about Goblin's run being very, very solid, knocking down players like Hiromarine and whatnot. Yeah, Hiromarine, Mana, Skillus, any of those players, I'd be like, is Goblin the favorite? Yeah, maybe against Mana, but that's a close one. And then ShoWTimE went 2-0 Night Phoenix, 2-0 Cristiano, 1-2 MaxPax, then 2-0 Aquaron. So the only really tested him was MaxPax so far, and that's because, you know, he's a little bit of a G.
A little bit of a G. All right, well, in the bottom left-hand side, looking to try and somehow get a map in this series. I think it's aggression time. I think we stop trying to play these longer games. That's not Goblin to me. We'll see if Goblin agrees. In the bottom left, guess what? It's Goblin.
And spawning over in the top right, currently 2-0 up. Here's the red toss. It is ShoWTimE. I'm liking what we're seeing from ShoWTimE so far. It's just different, but he gets a hold of the game nice and early and just kind of retains his lead, doesn't he?
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. Like, the thing is, ShoWTimE is under no pressure, I feel like, to do anything super quickly, because he knows in a longer game he's very comfortable. So he just sort of sits, he just sort of chills, he waits, and then he's just so patient because he knows, like I say, he's in no rush to kind of find the best possible fight or whatever. He will just let it play out, let it go, and then eventually find his opening, find the moment where he has a lot of bit of map control. In this game, it took all the way through to teching the disruptors, and then boom, guess what? He's able to start pushing, prodding, and from there, it just felt as though he slowly dismantled Goblin.
Yeah, and Goblin, he's been doing slightly later probe scouts in this series, but this game, this is going to be very wild out of both of them. So ShoWTimE puts down his proxy pylon, which, you know, just doesn't mean anything so far, but kind of backed up to see if Goblin was also doing it, given that he hasn't scouted him. Neither player has scouted so far. And he's just going to be like, you know what, let's go plonk a, I think it's going to be Stargate, yes, yeah. Stargate over here. It's a nice location for it. And Goblin, again, same units coming out of him. Sentry Stalker, and most likely going to be the same again.
it's kind of wild to me that Goblin is the guy that just suddenly feels like his comfortable opener is like Sentry Stalker expanding. Just not what I expected at all from him coming into this. I know he's played like I know he's obviously played pretty confidently throughout the group stages, and maybe gained a little confidence boost from that, but yeah, maybe, I guess he's kind of like a bit of a reborn player in a way, but unfortunately it's just not working out against ShoWTimE just yet.
If he goes for the Robo again very early on, that could definitely be a little bit problematic for him, because I mean it's a very quick Oracle. That scout from him does get to spot what is going on, and he's going to have a hallucination out on the map here, but it is predictable, isn't it? Like ShoWTimE, far better PvP player than I'll ever be, but the fact that he's running in there, like I got the feeling that even though Goblin had a really good group stage, once you start getting to these longer drawn out series that are best of fives and stuff, your tricks or your way of playing and your opponent's way of sniffing out these tricks and stuff and the way that you play, it just gets worse for you if you only have one way of playing. And so far, look at this from ShoWTimE. Just gets in here. The units were all at the natural where they have been every series, and it's the same units as well. And it's just like 4 probes, boom, I'm out of there. It's trouble, man, because when I've seen Goblin in PvT as well, it's been very much like, I'm going to open up Phoenix, and it's the same thing. The follow-ups might be slightly different, but it's not so much about those follow-ups, you know, and already we're seeing ShoWTimE just get an edge just based on openings, and I think it's a lot about him just absolutely knowing before he even scouts it what Goblin's going for, because we've seen 2 games of him now. It's not been a change. Well, this is the 3rd game rather, and it's not been a change.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's just the same thing again and again and again and again, so just keeps on doing it, keeps on doing the same old stuff, and yeah, I mean, same old, right? The more you do it, the more likely it is that someone like ShoWTimE is going to identify the weaknesses, identify the moments, going to grab the probe up here as well, and dive to the low ground. There's a lot of sentries there, and that means the Oracle does get zapped pretty quickly, but still just controlling. And it's the Dark Shrine from Goblin again. Surprising.
Surprising, but maybe just... I think it was Goblin that said this at a LAN one time. He was like, I was doing this build, but I didn't think he would expect it again. And it was one of those like, what do you mean? Like, you know, you just did this multiple times in a row. Why wouldn't you think you would expect it again, kind of thing? And it, you know, didn't work out. But Warp Prism, very aggressively placed here. And there's nothing in the main base to greet it right now. So that's quite nice. I mean, I say that, but Warpins are a beautiful thing, and ShoWTimE was moving into a good position there against it. And these Oracles, have they dived deep enough to find out what's actually happening in the main? Does deny the probe at the 3rd?
Yeah, I have not really been able to see it, right? So no information on the setup just yet. ShoWTimE at home, he's got 1 observer out. He's building now a 2nd immortal for himself. Of course, 1 observer. The Oracles can revelate too, but on the wrong side of the map, as you'll see the 3rd base going down. So this is kind of a question of where the obs is at and how quickly you can split your units up and all of this. The Phoenix might be able to get on the Prism and put some pressure on that. That would be great. Just stop this Prism from sticking around, stop these DTs from being able to escape away. Now both DTs are committed to the main. Let's see a couple of depths on the natural at the same time. So some multi-prong. The Oracles will come back. ShoWTimE trying to figure out the split here to make this a comfortable defense. The Observer is going to show up. We're going to get rid of one of the DTs. The other gets the recall out. That will be good to go for the moment. And that is that.
Yeah, this, again, it's just rough because the game, like, you get to see that Goblin's a very competent player, but this is just a player just reading him very solidly and just getting leads here and there. And yeah, it's rough, man. It really is rough because in this game, Goblin has more probes, but it's because ShoWTimE's army is freaking solid, man. And I mean, there's no shield battery here. That's a huge Protoss army. And this 3rd base, I mean, even that Archon, that's his 1 power unit here in the mix. He does have an Immortal joining the fray as well, which keeping it alive with those force fields, beautiful.
Yeah, force fields is going to keep it back if you do see another Immortal showing up from ShoWTimE, though, and he's already whacking away at this 3rd. And this is obviously not good. As the probes pull in, we do get rid of one Immortal, but the Phoenix can now lift up the Immortal as well. So there it just is, just taking out the equation. Playing simple, easy for ShoWTimE, 3-0.